Guys, welcome to Crypto Insight. I've been a professional options trader for 20 years, and about a year ago, I switched my focus from equity options to crypto options. Why? Because of the huge volatility and opportunity in the space. Trading Bitcoin has allowed me to multiply my capital in a safe way. And in these videos, I will give you the benefit of my experience and insight into how I'm reading the crypto vol market and using options to either hedge or speculate on future expected moves in the crypto space. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I hope you find this content useful. Thanks. Okay, so crypto this week. What's Bitcoin been doing? So Elon's been back on the tape saying that Tesla will resume Bitcoin transactions once there's confirmation of clean energy usage, right? Above 50% from the miners, something like some number like that, okay? But anyway, whatever he said, it triggered a pretty healthy bounce, right? So we were back in the low 30s consolidating, and we're now back to 40,000. Yeah. So, every time he opens his mouth, it's worth a good 5,000 points on Bitcoin, it seems. But at least now he's talking it up again. So I've said, Bitcoin bounces back. We did get a bullish divergence on the momentum when we retested those lows and we didn't break down through those support levels. So it's relatively bullish price action there. Obviously, he gave us the catalyst we were looking for. Now, I've got this short-term resistance band marked out around kind of 42.5 to 44.5 area. It's kind of a confluence of a few fib levels on the sell-off and also a couple of these moving averages, 200-day, 50-day. So, you'd think that area is going to provide some sort of overhead resistance, at least in the short term. And then also on the bullish side, you had El Salvador making it legal tender, which we had mentioned last week, but they kind of got that through by the looks of it. So just helps with the general Bitcoin adoption narrative, right? But here we are. So, for the Bitcoin bulls, I think this price action is feeling fairly optimistic. We kind of need to get a convincing break, I think, above that resistance band to really feel like, okay, the lows are in. So I think the jury's still out, but, it's certainly feeling stronger than it was. If we look at Ethereum, on the other hand, not so great, right? Ethereum, I'd say recently has been underperforming. So on that news flow, because that was quite Bitcoin specific and Ethereum hadn't had as much, let's say, heavy selling because it didn't have that kind of negative ESG narrative attached to it, it hasn't had the snapback quite as violently either, right? So you've had the ratio drop from like the high 7s to back down to low 6s. I mean, I still think it's intact, and I still think the Ethereum story is well and truly intact. It's just, it might go through a period of underperformance, but that might give you a great opportunity to load up on it at some point, right? So kind of watch that chart, watch that spread, see how it's behaving. But for now, Ethereum sort of not participating quite as strongly with the Bitcoin rally, right? Which I don't think will persist, right? I think Bitcoin continues to rally. I think Ethereum will have a catch up in it, yeah. Okay, so that's kind of spots. I mean, if we look at the vols, what's been going on in the vols? Well, let me bring it up. So implied vols on crypto have got hit back down. We could bring up kind of the short dated vols here. So, obviously we had the massive spikes, kind of corrected, and it's kind of trended back down, but it's found a level in the kind of mid 80s, right? I mean, it popped back up towards 100, but it's come back off again, right? As has realized. So both realized and implied back down to kind of mid 80s, which kind of where they normally tend to live in recent times. What's been happening on skew? If we bring up the skew, So skew kind of normalizing a bit, right? So you had obviously the skew go crazy for puts, but now, you know, having reached 20 vols over for puts, you can see all the maturities on the skew side have kind of reverted back towards an equilibrium in the sort of low single digits. So it's still for the puts, but far less than it was. So it's looking a lot more symmetrical, right? Okay, so people a bit more comfortable, either paying up a bit more for the calls on a relative basis or just not as scared and buying all the puts, right? So skews are correcting alongside volatility. So just general market fears and jitters calming down, right? That's what I would say. Nothing really too much else to read into that. In terms of the shape of the term structure, you know, what have we got here? Term structure shape is starting to collapse, right? So this is what I'd been suspecting was going to happen, right? So you had the front end was super inverted. It got to about flat. The whole curve was around 90, and now it's collapsing with the front leading the way, right? So you're going to get, you know, the June vol, which expires in 10 days. That's just, if we're going to stay in this sort of pocket, that's just going to collapse, right? And July is going to start to follow suit, and August and Sep are going to stay relatively higher, right? So you're going to go back to a contango, and that's what we got here exactly. You got the grey, which is what it was, and you got the green that's in contango, that it's kind of literally happened over the last day, yeah? So that's definitely a trade, that's definitely something I was suspecting that would happen to the curve. And the way I was kind of playing that was, if you're bullish on Bitcoin or Ethereum, because Ethereum's kind of exhibiting similar sort of shapes in terms of its vol surface. If you're bullish and you believe that we're not going to explode to the upside in the next 2 weeks, then a nice way to play your long is to buy July calls and sell June calls against it to cheapen the premium. So the idea is, if your view is correct that the curve's going to collapse into contango and the market's not going to explode to the upside in the short term, then playing a call calendar as a way of being long is actually quite a nice trade, because it carries very well, because you're going to earn that premium from the short leg and you're going to decay at a slower rate on the long leg. And when the short leg goes away, you're just going to be left long the July calls, when the market might have had some more time to actually make its move, basically, right? So that's kind of how I'm starting to structure a couple of my positions. I've added some call calendars on Ethereum and some call calendars, some June, July call calendars on Ethereum and on Bitcoin. Yeah. Now, one other thing to kind of add to that is, you know, what makes us think that the market isn't going to explode tomorrow? Like, why do we think it's going to stay here, you know, by June expiry? Well, that's where you would look to things like the max pain and the kind of where the gamma positioning is and things like that, right? So, you know, you've got, where is the gamma positioning? What are the big strikes? Well, you've got a big strike here at 40,000. That's the biggest strike you've got. You've got a reasonably big strike at 44 as well. So if you look at where the option positioning lies, the majority of the option positioning now in terms of open interest looks to lie, in terms of gamma open interest, it kind of looks to lie around the 40-44 area, right? Which makes you think that that is probably going to hold the market, right? You've also got the max pain indicator, which kind of tells you at what point in spot for the next expiry do most options go out worthless, basically, right? Where is the max pain? So if we bring up the max pain for June, you can see here, if I expand this chart, max pain is sitting at exactly at 40,000, right? And why is that? Because look at all of this call open interest here. So all of this call open interest is going to go out worth zero if the market stays down here, basically, right? So that's going to base the idea. Now, that doesn't always work, but when the market's in the vicinity of the max pain heading into an expiry, I think it tends to have more importance, right? So the fact that we are bang on the max pain point today and expiry is only 10 days out, I think that is a pretty strong suggestion that we're going to struggle to break away from max pain until after expiry. And then we might go down, but we may go up as well. Like, say, if you're bullish, I think you'd be thinking the up move isn't going to come that quickly, and then it might come by July. So I just think a great way of playing that bullish view is those call calendars, basically. Yeah. And like I said, the Ethereum vol surface is pretty similar. terms of if we look at the term structure, it's kind of, yeah, it's in contango. It's got a bit of a premium still to Bitcoin. It's probably trading about 15 vols over Bitcoin. It's one of those things. If Bitcoin can continue rallying and Ethereum just sits around and does nothing for the next 2 weeks, then maybe we get some more convergence of this vol spread, and that presents us with some opportunities to play Ethereum vol against Bitcoin vol. But right now, at 15 vols over, it's not really a trade for me. It's not one that I'm going to get involved in. I'd be waiting for that to converge to like maybe 0 to 5 vol range. And if I fancied Ethereum is going to have a catch-up trade in it, then I'd be maybe looking to enter some spreads there between Ethereum calls and Bitcoin calls, something like that. That's a trade that I've done in the past, which has been relatively successful. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this content, please subscribe to our channel, give the video a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'd also encourage you to sign up for a free trial to our live and interactive Macro Insight Zoom call. As part of our trading community, as well as the call, you'll also get access to our Telegram chat and our weekly market reports. To find out more, you can also connect with us on the socials. All the links are at our website, www.options-insight.com. Thanks.